Have you ever felt like your recovery after a stroke hit a wall and no one could explain why? You're doing your best, showing up to therapy, trying to stay positive, but your body isn't responding the way it used to. And that brings up a deeper question. Is this it? Is this how it's going to be from now on? Let me tell you something that many stroke survivors have never been told. There is a framework, a map, that outlines how your brain and body work their way back after a stroke. It's not perfect, it's not linear, but it exists. And understanding it could be the single most powerful tool to help you take the next step forward. It's called the Brunnstrom stages of recovery. And once you learn how to recognize the stage you're in, you'll stop feeling lost and start feeling equipped. Because here's the truth. Healing after a stroke is never about moving in a straight line. It's about noticing progress, even when it doesn't look perfect. So today, let's go beyond the surface. I want to walk you through what's physically happening inside your body, stage by stage, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Because stroke recovery isn't guesswork. It's not about waiting to see what happens. It's about understanding the signals your body's giving you and using that knowledge to guide your next move. The Brunnstrom approach was developed back in the 1960s by a Swedish physical therapist named Sina Brunnstrom. At the time, stroke recovery was still poorly understood. Most people were either told they would recover or they wouldn't. There wasn't a roadmap. But Brunnstrom changed that. She noticed that stroke survivors tended to follow a common pattern of movement recovery, and that even things like spasticity, tight, stiff, frustrating muscle tone, weren't always signs of regression. In some cases, they were signs that the brain was trying to rebuild. Think of it this way. Instead of looking at spasticity as a problem, the Brunnstrom method teaches us to see it as a sign of effort, a sign that your nervous system is fighting to reconnect. Now, these 7 stages don't always happen in perfect order. You might move forward, then backward, then forward again. That's normal. What matters is knowing what to look for so you don't give up just when progress is around the corner. Let's dive into each stage, what it really means, and how you can keep moving forward, no matter where you are today. The Brunnstrom stages of stroke recovery outline a progression that many survivors experience as their brain begins to heal and relearn movement. There are 7 stages in total. Each one represents a different level of motor control and neurological function, starting from complete flaccidity and ending with near normal movement. But here's the key. These stages are not milestones you reach by simply waiting. They respond to effort, stimulation, and consistency. Just like a trail through the woods, each step you take helps define the next part of the path. Let's walk through the big picture first. Stage 1 begins with no movement at all. Your muscles are completely flaccid. Stage 2 brings on something that might feel surprising: spasticity or stiffness. Stage 3 is where that stiffness increases and becomes more noticeable, even painful. Stage 4 marks the beginning of control returning as spasticity starts to decline. Stage 5 allows for more complex movements and less stiffness. Stage 6 brings coordination back into the picture. And finally, Stage 7 is where normal movement reemerges, though that definition might vary for each person. Each of these stages can last weeks or even months, and not everyone will move through all of them in the same way. But recognizing the stage you're in allows you to target your exercises, your therapy, and your mindset with greater precision. Instead of just hoping, you can act. And instead of fearing a setback, you can see it as part of a larger process. Stage 1 of recovery begins in silence. After a stroke, especially one that significantly affects the motor centers of the brain, you may find that the affected side of your body simply does not respond. No movement, no tension, just a limb that feels heavy, disconnected, almost foreign. This is called flaccidity. And while it might feel like nothing is happening, it's actually the beginning of everything. In this stage, there's no active movement in the muscles. The limbs are limp. You might see this more commonly after a severe stroke, while people with milder strokes may skip over this stage entirely. So what should you do when it feels like there's nothing you can do? The answer lies in two critical strategies: passive movement and proper positioning. Passive range of motion means gently moving the affected limbs, even if you can't do it yourself. A therapist, a caregiver, or even your unaffected hand can help stretch and rotate the arm or leg. Why does that matter? Because movement, any movement, feeds the brain. It gives the nervous system a signal. This part of the body still exists, and we're still trying. That's how neuroplasticity begins. Without that input, the brain has nothing to work with. Positioning is equally important. Leaving a flaccid limb unsupported can cause complications like shoulder subluxation or pressure injuries. The affected arm, for example, should be carefully supported with pillows when lying down, or elevated when sitting upright. And one more thing, this is the moment where mindset matters. Instead of thinking, I can't move, say, this is where my recovery starts. Then something shifts. After days or weeks of flaccidity, your body begins to respond, but not in the way you might expect. You may notice muscles stiffening, tightening suddenly when you move. Your arm might bend in ways you didn't intend. Your fingers might curl without your control. It's called spasticity, and in stage 2 of recovery, it makes its first appearance. Now here's the twist. Spasticity, while uncomfortable and confusing, is actually a sign of progress. It means that your brain is starting to communicate with your muscles again. The signal isn't clear yet. It's like a poor phone connection with bits and pieces getting through. But it's happening. Spasticity is caused by two things. First, overactive reflexes that cause muscles to contract more than they should. Second, the brain's reduced ability to inhibit those reflexes after injury. You may also start to see abnormal limb synergies, involuntary movements that seem to come in patterns. Maybe your elbow, wrist, and fingers all bend at once when you try to move just one part. That's a classic stage 2 response. So what do? You keep moving, even if your movements aren't perfect, even if they're tiny. Try to engage the affected side every day, during simple tasks like brushing your teeth, folding laundry, or setting the table. And yes, continue with passive stretches because the muscles are now harder to move. But most importantly, this is when something dangerous can creep in: learned non-use. That's when your brain decides this side isn't useful and stops trying. Don't let that happen. Even the smallest movement is worth celebrating and worth repeating. Stage 2 is messy, but it's movement. Stage 3 is where many stroke survivors feel stuck. The stiffness that first crept in during stage 2 now becomes more pronounced. Movements become harder, muscles tighter, and even passive stretching may start to feel uncomfortable or downright painful. This is increased spasticity, and while it can feel like a step backward, it's actually the nervous system working overtime to reconnect. Think of it like a construction zone in your brain. The damaged area is under repair, but traffic, your motor signals, is getting rerouted through alternative paths. That rerouting creates congestion. Signals fire too strong or in the wrong direction, and muscles contract more than they should. Yes, this can make daily life harder. Yes, it can hurt, but it also means that something is still happening in the system, and we can work with that. So what now? First, talk to your medical team. This is the stage where interventions like Botox injections, oral medications, or acupuncture may be appropriate. These tools don't fix the cause of spasticity, but they relieve the symptoms enough to let you move, stretch, and train your brain again. And that matters, because movement is still the key to progress. Keep doing slow, gentle stretches every day. Continue to involve the affected side in your daily routine, even if it's just holding a towel, stabilizing a plate, or assisting during dressing. This is also a good time to discuss splints or orthotic devices with your therapist. These tools can help prevent contractures when muscles become permanently shortened, limiting function even more. And don't forget the invisible factor, stress. Emotional stress makes spasticity worse. Take time to rest, breathe, and stay connected with others. You're not failing. You're in one of the hardest but most important phases of healing. You're not stuck. You're still moving, just through the roughest terrain. Then slowly, things begin to loosen. In stage 4, the spasticity that once gripped your limbs starts to decline. Movements that felt impossible or locked now start to give a little. Your hand might begin to open. Your elbow might straighten more easily. And for the first time in a long time, you may notice that you are controlling the motion, not just your reflexes. This is a turning point. Why? Because your brain is regaining voluntary control. That means the rewiring efforts, your exercises, your stretches, your patience are paying off. Neural pathways are forming. The signals are clearer now. But don't stop here. This is the moment to build momentum. Start developing a daily exercise routine that includes both stretching and active movement. Don't just let others move your limbs. Try initiating the movement yourself, even if it's small. No therapist, no problem. Use home routines. Many stroke survivors in this stage use simple tools, resistance bands, towels, even water bottles as lightweights. Also, consider using functional electrical stimulation, FES. This is a technique where mild electrical impulses are used to activate muscles. It helps reinforce the brain-muscle connection and encourages voluntary movement. The biggest danger in this stage? Thinking you're better enough. Because this is where recovery can plateau if you stop challenging yourself. So instead of thinking, I'm okay now, think, what else can I reclaim? Brush your teeth with the affected hand. Use it to help stir your coffee. Press the light switch. Every time you choose to involve your recovering side, you're telling your brain, yes, we still need this. Reduced spasticity isn't the end. It's the beginning of real control. By the time you reach stage 5, something remarkable begins to happen. Spasticity, the tight, uninvited tension that once ruled your movements, has now faded to a whisper. It's still there, perhaps in the background, but for the first time, it's not in your way. This stage is all about refinement. Complex movements become more possible. You might notice your hand can reach for a glass without immediately curling. Your arm can bend and then relax. There's more fluidity, more choice. What's changed? Your brain is now better at suppressing abnormal reflexes. The signals it sends are stronger, more precise. You're regaining voluntary control, not just over isolated movements, but over coordinated motion. Movements that once required all your focus begin to feel natural again. So what should you focus on now? Fine motor skills. Start practicing tasks that involve dexterity. Turning a doorknob, holding a fork, brushing your hair, zipping a jacket. These movements might feel clumsy at first. That's okay. Precision comes with repetition. You can also begin adding strength training to your routine. Light resistance, controlled movements. Build endurance and confidence. This is the time to train smarter, not just harder. And here's the big shift. Instead of trying to get your old life back, start exploring what your new capabilities are. What can you do now that you couldn't 6 months ago? What feels easier, more natural? Because instead of waiting for life to return to normal, Stage 5 invites you to build a new normal on your terms. The stiffness is no longer leading. You are. Stage 6 feels like a breath of fresh air. Spasticity is nearly gone now. Movements flow more freely. Your arm, your hand, your leg. They listen to your brain again. Not perfectly, but with growing trust. The biggest change here isn't just in motion, it's in coordination. You can now combine movements, reach and grasp, turn and balance, walk and carry. You may still notice slight delays or a lack of precision, but for the most part, your body is starting to cooperate again. It's an exciting place to be, and it comes with a new challenge: refinement over repetition. In earlier stages, the focus was on trying to move it all. Now it's about moving with control. So what can help? Build a home dexterity routine. Try stacking coins, writing your name, cutting food, buttoning a shirt. These tasks might seem small, but they help rebuild the intricate timing and sequencing your nervous system needs to fine-tune itself. You should also keep working on your balance and endurance. Light cardio, such as walking, can now be more structured, helping your brain and body move as a team again. And here's something to remember. Even in this stage, frustration is normal. Precision is the last thing to return. A shaky hand or awkward turn doesn't mean you're regressing. It means you're polishing the edges. Instead of saying, "Why isn't it perfect yet?" ask, "What part improved this week?" That shift in mindset helps you stay motivated for the long game. Because at stage 6, you're not surviving your stroke. You're reclaiming your life. Stage 7 is where many stroke survivors dream of arriving. In this stage, movement feels, at last, normal again. Spasticity is gone. Coordination is strong. You can walk, talk, reach, grasp, and interact with the world much like you did before your stroke. But here's the truth. Even at this final stage, recovery isn't finished. There may still be small things, like a lingering heaviness in your leg, slower fine motor skills, or occasional fatigue that remind you of your journey. And that's okay, because stage 7 isn't about pretending the stroke never happened. It's about integrating what you've been through and realizing you've come full circle, stronger, wiser, more aware of what your body can do. This is the time to focus on long-term maintenance. Keep up with physical activity. Don't stop exercising just because things are better. Instead of training to recover, you're now training to sustain. Revisit the exercises that work for you. Stretch, walk, lift, and move daily. Celebrate your independence by continuing to use your body with purpose. And if something starts to feel off, pain, fatigue, or stiffness, it's not a failure. It's just a signal to pause, adjust, and return to what you know works. Stage 7 means you're leading the way now. No more waiting for change to happen. You've become the change. Your body remembers, your brain adapts, and your willpower, well, that's what brought you here in the first place. It's the question that every stroke survivor asks at some point: will I ever get back to the way I was? And the honest answer? No one can say for sure. Every stroke is different. Every brain is different. Recovery depends on so many factors: the part of the brain that was affected, how quickly you receive treatment, your age, your pre-stroke health, your therapy plan, and perhaps most of all, your mindset. Some people make a full recovery. Others come close. Many learn to live powerfully with a new version of themselves. So instead of asking, "Will I get back to 100%?" ask, "What's the next 5% I can work on?" Because here's what we do know. People who stay active, who stay consistent, who keep moving through frustration tend to go farther than anyone expected. Recovery rarely happens in a straight line. You'll take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. You'll have plateaus, setbacks, even weeks where nothing seems to improve. But those who don't stop, those who keep trying, they continue to gain ground. Your brain is capable of remarkable change. It can rewire, It can adapt. It just needs time, effort, and belief. So if you're in a dark place right now, if you're stuck in a hard stage, if you're afraid that this is as good as it gets, let this be your reminder. Progress is always possible, and healing is still happening, even when you can't feel it. If today's video helped you feel seen, just a little more understood, then I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment and share in the comments. What part of your journey are you in right now? Maybe you're in the early days, still trying to make sense of everything. Maybe you're further along, helping someone else stay strong. Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle and it just feels hard to describe. Wherever you are, your voice matters. Sometimes just saying it out loud helps you take the next step. And if you're walking this road beside someone else, caring, supporting, showing up day after day, I want you to know this. You are not invisible. You are not just the helper. You are part of the healing. So leave a comment, not just for me, but maybe for someone reading who needs to know they're not alone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying. And thank you for not giving up on yourself.